everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. I've been invited to participate in the Spring Summer Coffee Lovers Blog Hop, where there are going to be some awesome giveaways all week long. For my project, I'm going to be creating a chunky slimline that has a little pocket inside filled with bookmarks. I'm going to show you how to use adhesive sheets to assemble these projects and multiple ways to use a single stamped image. To create this design, I'm going to be using the coffee and book stamp set, these bookmark dies, and some patterned papers with coffee designs. I'm also going to be using an SVG I created for the chunky slimline pocket card. Before we build the card, I want to show you how to add some watercolor to the images and how to assemble the bookmarks. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of color to these stamped book images. This is really simple to do with watercolors. I'm just going to shade the pages with colors that match the paper I chose. This includes an olive green, a blue-green, peach, and pale pink. I know that most books don't have colored pages, but shading these gives them a little pop of color, which is going to pair well with the bookmarks and card we're going to create. I'm also going to add a small bit of color to the coffee cups. In a moment, I'm going to show you how to cut apart a few of these images to decorate the project. The sentiments are going to be stamped onto these pieces of mixed media paper. Before I stamp the sentiments, I want to add a color wash behind them. With my water brush, I brushed some water onto the paper, and then I'm dripping color into the water, and I'm letting the colors mix and flow in with each other. Again, I chose hues that matched the many paper patterns I have picked for this project. I have two backgrounds in a peachy tone and one with some blues and greens. All right, I'm going to set all of these aside to dry, and we're going to start assembling the bookmarks. These have been cut from the pattern paper using the bookmark dies. Patterned paper is a little bit on the thinner side, so I'm going to add a back to each of these. When you are cutting out the paper for the back side, you're going to want to place the die on the opposite side of the paper so that when you adhere them together, the cuts match up. I've also added an adhesive sheet on the back of my papers. This is going to make it easier to adhere these pieces together, and it's going to create a nice bond in between all of the layers. If you've never used an adhesive sheet before, let me show you how these work. Adhesive sheets have two backers with an adhesive in between. You're going to want to trim down your adhesive sheet to the size that you need, then peel off one of the backing sheets and adhere it to the back side of the patterned paper. Go ahead and run your paper and die through your cutting machine, just like any other paper. When it's finished cutting, you can peel off the other backing sheet and easily adhere the two pieces together. You're going to want to take your time with this. These adhesive sheets are permanent adhesive, so once they're stuck down, they're there for good. I'm going to finish adhering all of the layers together. The adhesive sheets are going to make this really easy to do. And it's nice to know that the layers are going to be stuck down really well. I'm hoping that these bookmarks get used by the recipients, and I don't want any of the edges popping up. These adhesive sheets come in really handy with delicate overlays like this one. You can easily peel off the backing sheet and place it down without worrying about any liquid adhesive oozing out the edges. I also like that I can use the negative pieces of the die cuts as stickers. The backing on the pieces can be removed, and I can fill in a few of the spaces to create this charming little decoration on the background. If you wanted, you could cut a second design from another pattern or color and create a really beautiful background on your bookmark. Now I'm going to keep the decorations on this bookmark simple so that that background we created can be seen. The die set comes with a set of micro tags, which are always fun to have in your collection. I discovered that the small signs on this pattern paper fit perfectly on those tags. I just used a ruler and a blade to cut this coffee phrase out from the patterned paper, and then I'm just going to place it right there on the center of the tag. I love adding little details like this to projects. At the base of the bookmark, I'm going to adhere a stack of the books that we shaded with watercolors. These fit perfectly in this space. Off camera, I did finish a second bookmark with a stamped image, 2 tags, and a book image. This one was really easy to create. For the third bookmark, I have gone ahead and stamped the sentiment on the watercolor wash background. I've layered the sentiment over one of the wood grain cut-aparts from the paper pack, and then I'll add a few little tags at the top, and then a little coffee mug, which I cut out from that stack of books. This is a great way to use your stamped images. You can just cut them apart and use the pieces that you need. I also added another little coffee cutout there on the tag. This was a great way to use that patterned paper. At the top of each of these bookmarks, I'm going to add some ribbon, thread, and paper tassels. The tassel is actually one of the dies available with the bookmarks. So I've gone ahead and cut one out of patterned paper, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive across the band at the top. And then I'm going to lay a piece of thread in the center. I'm using a quilling tool to roll this up, but tweezers will also work for this. After it's rolled and adhered together, you can decorate the top of it with paper or thread. I'm going to place the tassel at the top of the bookmark. Instead of tying this on, I'm going to create a bow at the top with some white thread. I'm just going to gather up the thread and the ribbon at the top and tie a knot to secure these together. Then I'm going to tie a little decorative bow. If you're worried about that bow coming undone, you can double knot it, or you could add a bit of glue in the center to secure it. All right, now that the bookmarks are complete, let's make a chunky slimline card with a pocket to hold these. This card template was cut out on my Cricut machine, but you could easily reproduce it with a scoreboard. For those who wish to create this on an electronic cutting machine, I do have an SVG on my website for you to use. I have already added a few decorative papers to this pocket, and I'm going to use score tape to hold the pocket closed. I'm just going to place some of the adhesive at the base of the pocket and add some to that 1/2-inch flap. Then I'm going to fold this over, secure everything in place, and form the little pocket. This is a perfect place for those bookmarks you created, and it will also hold a little candy bar if you want to place one of those in there. For the front of the card, I have already added some craft paper. I'm going to be layering a brick wall pattern over it. This was cut from that 6-inch paper pad, so it's not quite long enough to cover the entire card front. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half, and then I'm going to use a piece of pattern paper to cover the gap. I have gone ahead and stamped another sentiment onto the watercolor washed paper, and I'm going to layer this onto another cut-apart piece. I love how cut-apart pieces can be also used for frames and backgrounds. Now remember, the books that we stamped were stacked in groups of 3. I don't know about you, but the piles of books that I have at my house are usually stacked higher than just 3 books. I think I collect books as much as I collect coffee mugs. I have gone ahead and cut apart a few of those book images, and I'm going to use them to build a larger stack of books along the side of the card. I am using foam tape to adhere them in place, and this is just going to give the card a little bit of dimension. At the top of the books, I'm going to add a little coffee cup. And now we have this adorable little stack of books we created using that stamped image. All we had to do was cut the little pieces apart and build a whole new design. Now, I always love adding texture to my card, so I've decided to add a couple of thread bundles around the edge of the sentiment. I'm just using a little tool here to push them into place against the adhesive that I have underneath this. If you need to secure it, you can go ahead and use some glue dots or some liquid adhesive. I love how this brings some of the green to the design, and it does give that card the texture that it needed. All right, now that chunky slimline pocket is ready for you to give as a gift to your favorite coffee-loving book addict. The project is a simple one, but it is going to be enjoyed by the recipient. You could make these bookmarks and card from any papers you have in your collection and personalize them for your friends. I hope that today's project inspired you to look at your stamps in a whole new way. Little gifts like this are always easy to create and fun to give. Don't forget to visit the Coffee Loving Card Maker blog hop this week. I've put a link in the description below so that you can check out all the coffee-loving projects and giveaways. Thank you for joining me for another fun tutorial. If you have any questions about this project or the supplies I used, feel free to post those in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.